Hey guys, welcome back to more insane Karen freakout stories. In this video, a Karen tried to kill me for destroying her family. She stalked me for weeks. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the video. So there's a Karen that lives in my neighborhood that acts totally different when her husband is and is not around. When he is there, she acts totally normal, a bit entitled still, but does not start up with anybody and is tolerable. Also treats her kids great and they seem like one big happy family, but I've seen her several times alone or just with her kids, and that is when the real Karen comes out. I once saw her at the grocery store making some teenagers stocking shelves basically cry because they did not have something that she wanted. Ignoring the fact that obviously this kid does not order stock, you just don't yell at people. Not to mention her daughter, who is only like 5, was with her and watching her mother swear and be a horrible person. Like, great role model abilities, Karen. Usually I mind my own business and I'm not one to get involved with things like that. That changed when I saw how she decided to punish her kid one day for misbehaving. They were leaving like a kid play place that is in a shopping center. I was next door, which is a nail salon, and leaving when I saw them coming out. Also at some point I saw Karen in there getting her nails done. And since her husband was not there, she 100% left her 5-year-old in the play center alone, which is not allowed to get her nails done. I heard her daughter crying and screaming because she didn't want to leave, and then screaming because she wanted ice cream, and Karen said no. I cannot blame a 5-year-old for having a tantrum, especially when I don't know the kid. She could have been overtired or overstimulated. Or more likely, just acting like mommy does when she doesn't get her way. Anyway, Karen decided to teach her daughter a pretty cruel lesson. So basically her daughter at that point has sat herself down on the sidewalk and was refusing to get up. So Karen decides to leave without her, and yes, I'm well aware many parents pretend to walk away or leave to get their kid to stand up and come. I want to be clear though that this is not what Karen was doing at all. Karen just walked away without looking back at her daughter. She got into her car and started the engine. Once she was out of sight going to the car, the daughter started to go after her and shouted to wait for her. Karen did not stop though and instead pulled the car out and left the parking lot with her daughter just standing there. Now she was crying even harder because she really thought that her mom had abandoned her and was gone forever. I had no idea if Karen was coming back or not, but I did not care and was on the phone with the police. I also recorded on my phone the entire thing, so when they came I could show them what actually happened. The cops arrived really fast and Karen came soon after, confused as to why all the police were there. They explained that she left her daughter and they were taking her into protective custody. Karen started screaming and going off about how she was teaching her child a lesson and that this country is too PC now with not letting parents discipline their kids. Karen saw me too and confronted me asking if I was the bitch that called the cops on her. I told her yes and I would do it again, knowing that she was going to come back. I even told the police that she left her kid in the other store alone to go get her nails done. Karen was furious, but I was allowed to leave, so I did think that things were over. However, it was far from that. Karen started stalking me, both in person and on social media. She made a ton of fake accounts to comment on my public posts and insult me. I found her driving up and down my block watching me, and I was starting to get creeped out. This went on for weeks with me not knowing if I should call the police or just ignore it because she was not trespassing and was more of a nuisance than a danger. I opted to get a little bit of revenge on Karen and email her husband exactly what she did that day and a ton of other things that I've seen her do. I sent him the video so he could see the woman that his wife really was. A nasty Karen that was putting on a front for him and for probably the entire time they had known each other. I did not get a response back, but felt like I taught her a lesson and she would maybe back off from stalking me. Instead though, it got worse. One day she did come onto the property and started banging on my door like a crazy person. I was not even in the house but the backyard, but I heard the banging and went around to the front to see her. She started losing her mind at me and I found out a few things from her random screaming. So she had just been to court where her husband had gotten full custody of both kids. The daughter and the son, who knows where he was that day at the shopping center. He was angry when he found out what Karen did and decided to leave her and get custody of the kids, claiming she was not fit. He won and she decided that I destroyed her entire family and that I had to pay for it. So neighbors could hear her yelling and one even shouted that he was calling the police, but that did not stop Karen at all. She kept laying into me like I had been the one to do all of these things when it was actually her being the horrible person and even worse, mother. I did not know that she brought a gun with her until it was too late and she pulled it out and fired. I don't know how somebody could aim that badly, but I'm grateful for it because instead of shooting me in the head or the heart or some other vital organ, she just got me in the foot. Don't get me wrong, it hurt like hell and I was on the ground screaming my brains out, but she didn't shoot again and instead started kicking me for some reason. Maybe she only had one bullet or the gun jammed or something. Anyway, police came during that and I heard them screaming for her to drop the gun. I was too focused on my pain and half blacking out that I couldn't see what was happening, but I heard it. I guess she didn't comply and they used a taser on her dumbass to take her down. We both had to go to the hospital and despite being a good distance away, I could hear her still being a Karen in the hospital while under arrest. Only she could still be acting entitled when handcuffed to a bed. The doctors were able to see the bullet went right through my foot. It didn't go through bone, but I needed surgery because the tendons were damaged. You can be sure I was making sure that any hospital bills were going to get paid by Karen before the end of everything. I told the police about the stalking so they could add that to her rap sheet, but it was obvious to anybody that she was going to jail. Basically, she shot me in broad daylight, assaulted me, did not listen to police, and admitted to police that she wanted to kill me. Nothing she could have possibly said or done was going to make her stay out of jail. Even pleading guilty was not gonna help anything at this point. She was going to prison for 30 years when all was said and done, and I'm glad that I'm done needing to deal with or see her anymore. I wish I knew what happened with her husband and the kids, but I don't and honestly wanna just leave them alone and let them live their lives. Most of the time I know they say that having two parents is better, but I think they are better off without Karen as their mother. And yeah guys, I would certainly agree with that. I think these kids will grow up much better with just the dad, because this Karen was simply a criminal and not fit to be a mother. Either way, if you enjoyed the story so far, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because that would be very much appreciated. Thank you so much. And the next one is a Karen lawn drama saga story. So I make a living doing landscape maintenance, mostly for commercial properties and wealthy homeowners. Unsurprisingly, the wealthy homeowners tend to be the most difficult customers. I could probably write a book with the amount of ridiculous requests I receive. I added a new customer, Karen, real name, to my weekly route recently, and the first visit to her home was yesterday. Using Google Maps, I bid the property for 1 hour of work. When I showed up, the place was a mess. It had not been serviced in months. I spent 2 hours making this place look about as perfect as it could. I cleaned up 2 half-dead palm trees, trimmed all the bushes, mowed, edged, string trimmed and cleaned up all the leaves I was able to. An hour later, Karen calls my company, aka me, to complain about the work done. Apparently, they blew leaves into the corner of her property and left them. Well, that is complete BS, but okay, I will entertain the nonsense. By the way, Ripe Star, something just came to my mind. You know, when I look into the analytics of my channel, I can see what other videos my audience watches, and interestingly enough, there is a channel, or actually quite a few channels, where some guy basically mows the lawn or the front yard or whatever of people for free, and then he has the craziest stories happen to him. So usually the people are like super thankful that he mowed their nasty looking property for free, but then often there is like some kind of entitled Karen neighbor or whatever that complains, and it really reminds me of these Reddit stories, but just happening in real life on camera. Have you ever watched these kind of videos? I'm just curious, let me know in the comments. The leaves in question were already in the back corner of the property, embedded in the pine straw, as they had been there for quite a while. And standard practice is blowing out any loose leaves from garden beds and mulching or bagging them, which had been done. Karen did not really want to hear reason when I tried to explain this, and insisted that I send someone out to get the remaining leaves. So I went back and got every leaf off of her property, including over 75% of the pine straw. Of course, she called again to complain about her missing pine straw, at which point I reiterated the same thing I told her before. I let her know I'd be happy to replace the pine straw for $400. And well, I have not heard back yet. Update to the story. So a week after the events in my initial post happened, I got a call from Karen. She asked if I was still willing to do the pine straw job for $400. I told her I would have no problem with it, but asked why she would want to use my services again when she wasn't satisfied with my prior work. Apparently, this lady discontinued services from 3 other landscape companies in the area and was having trouble finding anyone to do the job. I'm guessing that means they all fired her as a customer for being really ridiculous. I went and did the job this morning, and upon finishing, she was at least content enough with the work that she requested bi-weekly landscape maintenance moving forward. I politely declined, and when she asked why, I told her the truth. Ma'am, you seem to be a bit unreasonable and I don't have the desire to deal with it. It did not go over too well, but she paid for the work today and I left. Anyone wondering why I'd go back for the one job in the first place? It was an easy $200 profit for an hour of labor, so why not? And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, $200 for 1 hour of work sounds pretty good, but then again, if you have to deal with mega entitled toxic Karens, that $200 sounds a little bit less enticing. But then again, honestly, $200 per hour just seems absolutely insane to me. I'm curious where you are from. How insane is $200 per hour as a salary? Or payment, or whatever you call it? Let me know in the comments. Either way, the next one is titled Walmart Karen blows up on OP when he tells her that he does not work there. For the record, I do work for Walmart and did at the time of the story. My oldest niece goes to college just a couple hours drive from my home. Every so often, I would make the drive out on my day off to visit with her and make sure she had everything she needed. Her mom covered the rent on her apartment, she walked almost everywhere, and most stores she needed were within walking distance, except the local Walmart. So then during a visit, she thought of a few things she needed from the store. No big deal, we head over there, we wander around and gather the supplies she needed, a few school supplies, a movie that had just released, some fabric for her latest cosplay idea, and we're looking over the game case, commenting on some recent releases, and mulling a purchase. Enter the customer. Customer, excuse me, I need a game out of here, would you unlock it for me? Me, sorry, I don't work here, but I see the guy with the keys right over there. It's my day off, I'm not in anything that could remotely be construed as dress code for Walmart, much less a name tag. Customer, no, I recognize you. I know you work here. Please stop being another lazy freak and get me that game. Me, ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't work here. I cannot even open any case. Customer, shut up, look, I get it. You're lazy, you're flirting with a little twit there. You think you're gonna get in her pants. You work here, it's your job to provide customer service. Me, ma'am, this is my niece. She attends college here. I don't even live in this town, please. Customer, what's your manager's name? I'm gonna file a complaint. At this point, I realize I can have a little fun with this one, especially as my manager at the time has a love of snarky behavior and a no-nonsense attitude when it comes to customers like this. I give her my manager's name and cell number, knowing that he was also off that day. He listens to the complaint and then asks which store she is in, because that doesn't sound like the kind of person he wants working under him. She's confused but gives the college town name. I hear him laugh over the phone loudly, and then he tells her in no uncertain terms that I don't work at that store and to just leave me alone. He then hangs up before she can get a word in edgewise. Customer, oh, very funny. Getting some friend of yours to cover for you, huh? Now get me the game. At this point, the actual associate comes up and asks which game, and she angrily points at it. He unlocks the case and gets a copy out. Customer, at least someone around here can do their damn job. You need to tell your coworker here to stop thinking with his dick. Local associate, ma'am, he's another customer, he doesn't work here. And please don't use that sort of language in the store. Customer, another cover story. Damn. Local associate, ma'am, please refrain from swearing in the store, there are children nearby. Customer, F you and your whole effing store and your damn horny Fs who don't do their jobs. I'm going to GameStop. This attracts the attention of the store manager, who comes over to see what the commotion is. Store manager, after listening to a profanity-laden rant about the poor customer service, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You are harassing other customers, pointing at me and my niece, belittling my staff, pointing at the actual electronics guy, and your language is not appreciated in Walmart. The exit is this way. If you don't want to leave out of your own accord, I can have the police escort you out. It finally sinks in that I was telling the truth all along. Color drained from her face as she slowly walked away, abandoning the cartload of merchandise she had already selected. I noticed her again on our way out, just staring blankly into her steering wheel. Update to the story, I just talked to her today and she had a surprise for me. She ran into that exact Karen who recognized her and apologized. My niece, still in college working on her doctorate, also runs weekly D&D games at a local game shop to help new players into role-playing. A pair of twin boys, she tells me they are 8, have been regulars since she started, and she has enjoyed having them at her table. Most of the time they come in with their dad, a Magic the Gathering player, and he watches them from across the room while he plays and hangs out with some of his friends. The owner knows him and the boys well, and something happened that he couldn't stick around and left the boys in my niece's and the owner's care for the duration of the session. By the way, she tries to keep it to 2 hours because kids. At the end of the session, one of the boys looks out the door and calls to his brother that their mom was there to get them. She came in and called the boys and then stopped short. My niece said that she wasn't sure how the Karen recognized her and that she had almost forgotten the incident until then and had to be jogged to remember her, but their mom approached her and introduced herself. Ironically, her name turned out to be Karen and then had the boys to go get drinks from the shop owner. It turns out we encountered her on the worst day of her life. She had found out her husband was cheating on her and was preparing to drop divorce papers on her. She had lost her job due to cutbacks, and seeing my niece, who apparently looked a lot like her husband's mistress, just caused something to snap. And basically, she had wanted to get something for her kid to soften the blow of the divorce and the changes about to happen, and ended up going off the deep end. In the time since, she turned herself around and found a new man in her life and had the twins with him, plus gained full custody of her kids with the first husband, and had found a new career for herself. She said that day stuck in the back of her mind as the person she least wanted to be again and wanted to live every day being better than that. She never expected to see either of us again. Likely she never will see me again. I don't have the opportunity to go out there like I used to, but always wanted to apologize for the way she acted. Keep your hearts open, everyone. Change is indeed possible for some of these Karens. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta admit, that is probably the first Reddit story I ever read in over 2,000 stories maybe, where a Karen changes for the better. Miracles are indeed possible. What a lovely ending to the story and completely surprising. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. Squatters build house on my land, lose house and all money they spent on building it. Posted by user SCP-682 on our own subreddit r/ripe stories. Permission given to read in a video. I posted about this in r/am-I-the-a-hole, but it was removed because some moderator didn't read it through. Decided there was no interpersonal conflict and then refused to respond when I clearly pointed out what he was missing. Whatever the case, here's my tale of woe. I own a piece of land a little ways out of my town I inherited from my paternal grandfather. It is big and I've not yet decided exactly what I want to do with all of it. I have gotten plenty of offers for it from various parties but have declined them all as it is pretty sentimental. I have had it for a while and people around town know it is mine. I often let friends and family hunt on it or hold gatherings, cut some wood, etc. I have not given anyone permission to build on it though, and like every small town, everyone knows that fact. I was talking with a friend on the phone a while ago, shooting the breeze, talking about various things when offhandedly he says, "So you finally sold off that chunk of land, huh?" I blanked for a moment and laughed, because obviously it was a joke, right? However, it was not. I quickly found out I had fallen victim to some industrious and oddly well-funded squatters. Hoping to claim the land as abandoned, they had built a house with falsified and invalid permits. This is a story in and of itself, on my land without permission. Utilities were in the process of being connected and roads had already been paved connecting the house to the rest of the town. To say I was angry would be an understatement. My family is not known for turning the other cheek and, as some have pointed out, I get a nice feeling of righteous schadenfreude from seeing and participating in the downfall of people who deserve to be punished. Some call it a justice boner. To make an already long story a little shorter, I unleashed my powerhouse family on them. My maternal grandfather is a rather bullish lawyer who likes to go after people just as I do. He was more than happy to assist in reclaiming the land, and of course the squatters squawked in protest as they were removed by law enforcement. Their son then decided it was an excellent idea to appear at my grandfather's law office and spout some threats. This went very poorly for him, especially when he began to get belligerent and destructive. He destroyed one decorative plant and 3 computer monitors before he was taken down by a former Marine in my grandfather's employ. Suffice to say, the squatters have now been removed. They are demanding the land be given to them as they have sunk so much money into it now, but to be perfectly honest, I feel they screwed themselves over by building on land that was not theirs to begin with. I have since been assured that they will have no legal standing to sue for the money they have spent, and I will be looking into trying to keep the house despite it being built with false permits. As to the fate of the moron who gave them those permits, he has lost his job and is under investigation as he is connected to the squatter clan. As of this morning though, I came out to find my car covered in at least 200 eggs with the empty cartons laid out on my lawn. Thankfully, it is a beater that I use for dirty jobs, and the car I actually take care of was in the garage. It was the matriarch of the squatter clan, so as far as my camera saw, there is some more trouble coming their way. I would be glad to post updates as they develop. And yeah guys, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. And also check out my podcast by searching for Ripe Stories on Spotify, Amazon, Audible and other podcast platforms. You will often find exclusive episodes and early access to new content. Furthermore, please check out my Patreon by going to patreon.com/ripeyoutube or my YouTube membership program for even more exclusive stories. Thank you so much, and I will see you again tomorrow.